Delegations from Russia and Ukraine are now holding a second round of face-to-face discussions since the Russian invasion began. Video showing the Ukrainian delegation walking into the meeting room with their Russian counterparts. Both delegations are said to be represented by the same members who were at the first round of talks. Russian President Putin has warned Ukraine that it must quickly accept the Kremlin's demands for demilitarization and to declare itself neutral. So let's bring in retired Major General David Fraser, former commander of NATO forces in southern Afghanistan. And good to have you on. And let me ask you, since we're talking about these negotiations, what kind of optimism you would have just in the face of now this second round, but nothing has changed on the ground.
Beverly, it's good to be with you. And I think, again, there's not much optimism from any of these talks. This is, quite frankly, both parties just saying that they were engaged in talks as opposed to giving the other side an opportunity to say they weren't interested in peace. But there isn't much of a set of conditions necessary for either party to reconcile this. And neither, quite frankly, the Russians are not really serious about what they're offering the Ukrainians, given what is going on in South Ukraine today.
And now with the fall that we believe at Kherson, so at Port City, tell me about, the tactic there, the strategy, and why that's significant to take control of a port city for Russia.
It all goes back to 2014 when they took Crimea. They didn't have a land access to Crimea back to Russia. So taking Kherson and quite frankly, what we're seeing today with Mariupol, it looks like they might have established a land bridge to Crimea, which is what one of the strategic objectives of the Russian campaign. It's also given them, the Russians, a renewed sense of momentum, optimism that their campaign, which is stalled up until now, is starting to roll, which is, from a Russian point of view, good news, bad news for the Ukrainians who have put up a good defense until now. And for the residents of Kharkiv, they should anticipate they will be next on the Russian hit list.
And tell me about the comments that we continue to hear, obviously from the Russian Foreign Minister Lavrov and Putin himself. There doesn't seem to be any doubt that Russia wants most, if not all, of Ukraine. But what about beyond? What are your thoughts on that?
This is a campaign that has objectives that doesn't seem to be under any pressure to move quickly. Lavrov and Putin seem happy enough with the momentum that's going. It certainly is focused on eastern Ukraine. Its secondary objective seems to be to topple the Zelensky, and then they probably take the rest of Ukraine if they can accomplish those two objectives. After that, it gets really complex, I think, for Putin, given the fact that the world has coalesced back together. NATO is back together. Germany has awakened from a sleep of 20, 30 years from not investing in the military. It's going to get a lot harder for Putin to go after anything else like Latvia, Lithuania, and the Baltic states. Moldova is probably concerned because it could probably be taken over. But if Putin ever thinks he can go into NATO, I think the recent examples of what NATO leaders are, he's going to be sadly mistaken.
NATO has repeatedly, and allies has repeatedly said that they're not going to engage in the air. In other words, enforce a no-fly zone, and in part because Ukraine isn't a NATO member. But given that it's now being described as a slow annihilation, I mean, we're looking at the potential collapse of a peaceful democratic country. Do you think NATO might be forced to act on that?
The short answer is no. The opportunity for NATO and the other Western nations to go and help Ukraine has come and gone. The leaders, all of them, have said they will support politically, economically, and with the provision of lethal and non-lethal aid, but not troops on the ground. And troops on the ground would include aircraft to provide the no-fly zone, but that would put a NATO aircraft and NATO troops, including command and control and cyber, in direct combat with Russian surface-to-air missiles, Russian aircraft, and the Western leaders have said they're not prepared to do that. So, as unfortunate as it is, the world will watch Ukraine fight this battle of attrition on TV and just tragically watch Ukrainian citizens suffer.
Yeah. Okay. Well, retired Major General David Fraser, thank you for your thoughts this afternoon.
I really